You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about a game that almost drove Matt into a downward spiral of madness and anger. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon.
Does me sound happy? Our final DLC journey is back to the battlefield of Ostagar. First, we stop in Ban Loren's lands just in time to see a man run through by some guards. This man was once part of King Kaelin's honor guard, a deserter captured by Ban Loren to keep Logain's story intact. Before he dies, he passes on the key to King Kaelin's arms chest, containing the sword he planned to slay the archdemon with. We return to the place where it all began, a place changed by time and war, overrun by the darkspawn that destroyed an army. While we explore, we learn more about King Kaelin, as well as recover his arms, armor, and eventually his body.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to notice a pattern with the DLC that it's like expanding on existing stories from the base game. I'm also discovering that I did none of this DLC on my first full playthrough when I played it a few years ago. Yeah, no. I mean, well, that's not true. I did the Shale DLC because I had Shale with me. I remember having Shale, but I didn't do this. I did do Return to Ostagar, and I didn't do the Warden's Tower either. Like, I guess.
Keep,
yeah, Warden's Keep. I don't know why I didn't do them. I guess because they were just on the quest list and I didn't really think much of it, or I was in a hurry to get through it. I mean, I was in a hurry to get through it because I wanted to get through all three games. I never did them. And so I'm glad I've done them this time, though. I've noticed a pattern that it's kind of like, let's kill a lot of stuff and then tell a little bit of story. They're not mainly diverse.
You're right. It's not diverse. It's kill a bunch of stuff, get a little bit of lore, and also a lot of rare loot.
Yeah. Like, this is designed to gear out your party, which is great because there was some cool stuff that I needed and people who needed upgrades. But it was just kind of frustrating because the pattern of it, like, this feels the same as Warden's Keep to me, more or less. There's no real difference. Agree. Other than this has, I feel, more emotional weight because we do care about King Kaelin, or we're supposed to, at least.
I care about him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it more, but I just felt like the do a thing, get a little bit of story, chase an enemy, like it just is very rote. But the little bits of lore we get are cool, and the gear we get is very good. But I can see why this game continues to frustrate people, because while the story itself, the broader narrative, is really cool, there's so much shit you've got to wade through to get to a lot of it, and that can be frustrating.
Which is why sometimes when we break this game into smaller sections, I have to have a conversation with myself by the end, being like, do I actually like this game? Because I spent this entire time being really angry. Actually, I was not very angry at this section. So this is not really one of those times for me personally. I know for you, it's a very different story. You had a different thing happen. I'm playing on my Xbox. I don't have to experience as many glitches and crashes. Like, it still happens, but it's not as frequent for me.
Yeah.
But let's get into check-ins and stuff, and then we'll talk about the actual DLC.
Yeah. So Frankie and I didn't have any check-ins because we're all at that point that will be familiar to Mass Effect players, where you get a character story up to a point, then they give you their loyalty quest, and then every time you talk to them, they go, I've got nothing to say, or you can't talk to them. And so we're at that point with most of the characters.
Yeah, there's just nothing new.
Right. And so there probably will be check-ins in the next episode because it'll be the results of the loyalty quests we did this time.
Right. As part of the loyalty quests, I actually went to talk to them to kind of wrap it up. I don't know if you did that.
Yeah, I did too. Yes.
Okay,
because
cool.
Specifically Morgan's, and I think one other, requires that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Just making sure that we both did that.
Yeah.
Also, did you return to Soldier's Peak?
No, I haven't gone back yet.
So take time next time you play and go back to Soldier's Keep, because Levy sells a lot of potions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he restocks on potions.
Okay.
And Levy's cousin or whatever is the blacksmith, and he sells a lot of rare armor.
Okay.
And
cool.
Rare weapons.
All right. I'll go back. Yeah. I mean, potions. I almost never need potions because Wynn is a pretty good healer. And also, I personally am never in the fray. I am at the back plinking in with sticks. So
I like to have way too many because
I already do.
You might get into a moment where it's with the brood mother. you know?
Yeah. It's funny, that fight sucked every other time I did it because I'd gotten up to that point several times. Didn't this time because I'm just standing back
Right?
going pew pew pew.
I don't know why it wasn't so bad for me this time. I think because I was like a higher level. I think maybe I go to Orzammar too soon in my previous
Could
playthroughs.
be. Yeah.
That might be a thing.
Yeah.
But neither here nor there. Definitely check Soldier's Peak again. There actually might be like more merchants popping
Okay.
in. I actually don't know that part. I just know that Levy has like open trade there. So
Okay.
you can get some stuff that you might need.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. All right. So since we had no check-ins, we can just go to Ban Lauren's lands, which we go to because we hear that there was another survivor of Ostagar.
Right. And so we go there, and immediately once we arrive, we see soldiers surrounding this man, and there's a conflict about to happen, and you're given a few choices. You can look closely at the guards, look closely at the person, and then which really just kind of gives you background. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you can rush in, you can wait.
And so those are the two choices that matter. Is you can either rush in or wait to see how it plays out. I chose to rush in.
I also chose to rush in because I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever rushed in before. But in this scenario, it's like this guy is being cornered by guards, and I don't want to wait for them to kill him.
Well, right. And like also my logic is when one person is surrounded by many guards, too many guards. Like if it was a guy and one guard, I'd be like, all right, they've got like a tiff, whatever. I'll wait it out. But when there's like 8 guards and one person, it's never
gonna work out.
A cab, right? Like it's never good.
we are profoundly ACAB. Yeah, so I rush in, and it doesn't even matter. Like,
no, he still gets impaled.
He still gets stabbed, and that kind of annoys me. Like, why give me the illusion of choice? If it's not gonna make a fucking difference, why does it matter?
Yep. And so we rush in, and he's stabbed. And I'm like, wow, great, he's dead. But after you kill all the guards, you find out he's not dead yet. He's still sort of alive, and you can talk to him before he dies.
Yeah. I choose the headcanon that this man was Kaylin's secret lover.
Okay, it's not true, but sure.
I know, but I like it as a headcanon because he talks about, like, he was my friend. Like, was he? Mm. Yeah. How good?
Everybody's gay to you, so what does it matter?
Yeah.
Gay until proven straight. I know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, has a crush on me until proven otherwise.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And if you have a crush on me, you're a little gay. Sorry to break it to you, friends.
I mean, not a little. I'm sorry. But yeah, so we find out from him that apparently there is like a chest with equipment that King Kalim is going to use to slay the archdemon that is still there, and that we should go recover it.
Also some documents pertaining to Orlais.
Right, and like kind of proving what happened there and what went down and stuff.
So this guy dies
in
our arms.
Pretty much.
Feels fucked up because we have magic and potions and things.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have been able to save him.
Also, this is important for this part and then the next part. Who did you have with you? I had Wynn, Alistair, and Zevran. I, of course, was going to bring Alistair because we're doing a warden thing. Like, there was a no-brainer.
So I brought Alistair and Zevran. And I think I brought Shale to Ban Lauren's lands. But then when Alistair was like, you're going to bring me, right? And you should bring Wynn too. I was like, all right, calm down. I'll bring Wynn.
Yeah. When you're here, both Wynn and Alistair have something to say. And they both say, if you go there, please bring me. I'd like to go. And it's like, okay, all right, got it. Not so subtle hints, game. Understood.
I kind of wish that there was like a third person who wanted to go.
Yeah.
Because the other person in your party just has no interaction and
they say
nothing to say. And I'm like, this must be really boring for you. I am so sorry.
I mean, our third being Zevran, I know it wasn't boring for him because he got to stab things, and Zevran loves to stab things.
Right, but you know, I just wish it was someone who was a little more invested in Ostagar. Right. Like, I feel like Morgan would have been someone who actually wanted to see it.
I mean, maybe, but Morgan would also spend most of the time torturing Alistair, so...
Yeah, and, like, arguing with Wynn, but that would be interesting.
That's true. That's true.
But I don't think that Morgan has any vested interest in Ostagar, so there's no point. That being said, our mission is to find Kaylin's body, find this chest, find these documents. Okay, I have this thing.
Uh-huh.
You know how I feel about Wynn talking about how old she is, right?
Oh, this. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so there's a part where she says to Alistair, with lip like that, you'll be lucky to live to be half my age.
Yeah, I know.
You are not even 50. Alistair is 20.
He is half your
He
age.
is half your age.
Yeah.
Like, he is half your age. Like, and I just wanted to contextualize that Alistair is 20. Kaylin was 25 when he died, and Nora is around the same age as Kaylin, like maybe a year younger. But Alistair's a kid.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think we forget that a lot because everyone's ages are so ambiguous in this game, and there's like no. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they all have adult faces. None of them
Yeah,
look like kids.
yeah, they all have adult faces. There's no real like sense of youth to some of these characters. Like Ogren, we get the strong sense that he is like firmly an adult, right?
Yeah.
Like he is firmly in his adulthood. I would say that he is about Wynn's age.
I mean, probably. I mean, in dwarven years, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would say that he is about in his mid 40s.
Yeah.
And then Wynn, we know how I feel about Wynn. Morgan, I think, is also around 2021.
Yeah. I think the whole party is. Like, Sten also probably is in his 40s, if I had to guess.
I would also say that. But like, I just, I feel like age is a very important context for how we talk about these characters and the experiences that they've had and how they interact with the world. Like, Arl Eamon wants to make Alistair the new king. Alistair is a 20-year-old like himbo who doesn't fucking know his ass from his elbow. This is the man you want to make king? Like I know that you want to depose Logan and I'm all for that. But maybe leave my 20-year-old golden retriever boy alone.
Yeah, I mean, but also based the medieval stories that have existed that this is based on young kings and
No.
usurpers. It's all part of those tropes, so it's not.
Yeah, but we live in a world where we know that your development doesn't end until you're in your mid 20s. So like
Yeah,
you and I know.
I know. This game is not a new game. It's all of this stuff. Like it's worth talking about, but we have to also remember it was made at a time.
Yeah, I know.
In a place, and yeah, I know. Blah blah blah. But
I know. I just want to complain. Let me complain.
Yeah, you're allowed. You're allowed. So we arrive at Ostagar and we're immediately accosted by, Darkspawn. And so we're fighting our way through. And as we fight our way through, at least in the early parts, we are getting bits and pieces of Kaylin's armor. And as we recover it from certain lieutenants, Wynn and Alistair have stuff to say about it. Like Alistair is disgusted and really upset that they would steal and loot this stuff. And this is before we found Kaylin's body. And what I realized here and why they both asked to come to this quest is because this is the only mission that I can think of that the party banter is pre-programmed. In most of the other missions, party banter is party banter. By the way, we'll get to it later, but I discovered that Sten and Shale have the best party banter.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so like here, it's pre-programmed to certain moments as you uncover things, and like it's interesting, but like you said, also kind of limiting because it means the third party member that you bring with you is kind of just there. They don't interact at all because they're not programmed to.
Right.
But it is really interesting to hear them talk about it, especially since this playthrough, as we talked about in episode either 1 or 2, like I clocked Wynn in the camp, whereas I definitely didn't remember Wynn being in the camp when I played it the first time because I didn't know who Wynn was.
Right.
Whereas now, knowing who she is, her being there, like, it reminded me that the battle is important to her as well. And it's mostly them talking about how horrible that day was and, how awful it is that the Darkspawn still live here and are just kind of taking advantage of this space and looting and all of that.
With also plenty of teasing.
Yes, that too. We'll get to a line later about that, like, is very funny to me. towards
Oh,
the
I know what
end.
line.
Yeah, yeah.
I know what
But
line.
but yeah, so as we move through, we're like looking for stuff. We're exploring the camp.
Did you find the joining chalice?
Yes.
Cool. I also found the joining chalice. So we found the joining chalice. We find the key. We find the chest. We find the armor. I would like to say that this version of Ostagar is the worst.
Yeah, because they forcefully block off certain areas because they want you to walk a certain path to get into certain fights to
I kept
discover
getting
pieces of the honor.
lost.
Yeah, I know. Because you can't just cross through to the areas. There are barricades up.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just want to know where I'm supposed to go next. And
Yeah.
where you think you're supposed to go next, that is not where you're supposed to go. You're supposed to backtrack.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, ah, just
Yeah.
I
It's very
hate it.
frustrating. It's because you have to find, I think, two pieces of armor or three pieces of armor in this area and the chest before you can before they really want you to go to the bridge. And so it's arranged in a way that you can't go straight to the bridge. You have to kind of
Right.
zigzag.
Yeah, you have to hit these encounter points, which fine, I don't care. Fighting Darkspawn is whatever at this point. We also proved that Celine and Kaylin had agreed on fighting the Darkspawn together, and Celine, Empress of Orlais, was just waiting for Kaylin to respond to her.
Yeah.
And because of Kaylin's death, that never happened.
Yeah. I will also say here that my game crashed twice engaging in battle. This is the start of a lot of complaining about the game crashing. It would happen when I would like engage combat and not run in immediately. As the enemies came, the game would crash. We'll get to it later, but I figured out why this has started to happen, and it makes me even angrier. But we'll get to that. But we find a bunch of gear, we find the documents, we find the chalice, we find all of this stuff. And then once we've done all of this combat, the combat leads us around to the bridge. And when we get to the bridge, we find King Kaelin's body naked and almost crucified.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. Like he is this kind of mythic figure in the narrative of the story. It is also Duncan's death, but mainly Kaylin's death that acts as a catalyst for everything that happens, because Logain orchestrated Kaylin's death. Kaylin's death is what is dividing the country and what is stopping everyone from teaming up against the Blight. Kaylin, like, I don't think that there's a very strong case for Kaylin to be a Jesus analog. But
I mean, it's there. It's not there's not a case for it either.
Right. I don't think it's just particularly strong. I just think that there's very light comparisons.
Yeah. Right. I mean, this moment proves that probably the lead writers were of a faith that denotes the stories of Christ and worship in that way. Even if they aren't inherently religious, it's something probably in their background that they like. The story wasn't written by a Jew, is what I'll say, right? Because something like this probably wouldn't be depicted this way if it had been. That said, if there are Jewish writers on the team, please let us know and correct us. But I think for the most part, like, this is clearly pulling from someone's own experience of things they've seen and heard that does give these kinds of comparison.
Also, like, Jesus wasn't the only one that was ever crucified.
True.
Like, crucifixion has been used as punishment for many historical figures throughout history. But that's just the most prominent one that a lot of people think of. Well, people who have been through certain religious practices, at least. That being said, I do think it is fitting visually for Kaylin to be strung up in this way. It makes him, like I said, this mythic figure who we feel so much empathy for. Like, we didn't really get to know him. We only got like some witty lines from him, and that's about it. Not even witty lines, like a couple of sentences, and just like him being gung-ho about a fight. And now we see him here with all the fight out of him. He has been picked clean. He is laid bare, and he's just a man.
Yeah. And it's clear, while we didn't know him that well, Alistair of course knew him better and is completely distraught here. And like, our character is shown to be sad as well, because regardless of how you feel about the character, it's disgusting to see someone
Yeah.
having been strung up like this. It's unnerving. It's upsetting. And like you take this moment to like re-mourn him essentially because you see him in this way.
Yeah. And also, we have to remember that Kaelin is Alistair's half brother.
Right.
They didn't grow up together. Kaelin didn't know about Alistair, but Alistair knew that this was his half brother. And, that's really difficult to come to terms with. Like,
Yeah. And also Alistair doesn't have great run with family members. We'll get to that more later.
ooh, ooh, my boy. Um, okay. I have no other notes because nothing really interesting happens. You just kind of follow the path that you originally took when fighting in Ostagar for the first time, when you were sent to the Tower of Ashal. You have to fight some more things. You have to chase after this particular Genlock, a Genlock necromancer.
Yeah, and like he is raising the dead along the way to fight you. You encounter him on the bridge, and then he runs off, and you have to chase him. And this is like the tropiest BS, like excuse to explore space. Like, oh, an enemy keeps running away, and we have to keep chasing it. It's we talked about this in that spider boss battle, though that was less scripted. Like, just let me kill the thing, but there's a purpose to it, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
I guess we'll get to it now.
Yeah, get to it now. Like, what else is there to say?
Yeah, so we chase him throughout the tower and all of this stuff. We go underground. We fight in a spider basement because, of course, we fight in a spider basement.
A spider basement.
And like we chase him through the tower underground, and then it takes us to the field where we weren't, but where
right. We were never in this field.
Where Kaelin and Duncan die against an ogre. And like the thing that's interesting here that we didn't talk about is like as we're walking through here, we are getting flashes of memories, but of experiences we didn't witness. And so like I guess that's tied to the like us being connected to the Darkspawn, but like
it could be.
But like I'm not sure if that's meant to be for the player to remind them or if it's us actually as the character seeing these visions.
I think it is for the player to remind them.
Yeah.
And also to kind of imply that everyone is taking a moment to remember what happened here.
Right. Even if it's not those specific moments.
Right. Because even though they were not present to see it, they still know that it happened.
Yeah. And the final boss battle is, and this is why the Necromancer was kind of important, and I get the idea behind it, is the ogre that was eventually slain by Duncan after killing Kaelin. Even though Duncan also died because he was mortally wounded, that ogre still has the two swords in him, is risen by the Necromancer, and is the boss fight to fight him and the Necromancer.
I am so fucking stupid. I never connected that. I was just like, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I was like,
they
ooh,
had two swords in his
Duncan's
chest.
weapons.
Yeah.
It just didn't connect.
Yeah. And so you fight this ogre, you fight the Necromancer, you kill everything, and then you're able to get Duncan's swords, Kaelin's sword. And this kind of resolves with like talking about trying to move on and the battlefield. And then Alistair and Wynn have this witty banter it's stupid. Please, Frankie.
So Alistair says something to kind of compliment Wynn and be like, you're not as old as you seem, or like, you're just not old.
Oh, I remember Wynn talks about how we should go get rest because the bags under Alistair's eyes are making him look as old as her. And then he compliments her saying, you're looking younger every minute while we're here.
Yes, that's what it is. And she's just like, be careful, young man. You won't be feeling the same way when you wake up in my bed tomorrow.
And he's like, haha, wait, what?
It's not the first time I've woken up next to a young man. Just like, first of all, Wynn, get it. Second of all, that's my boyfriend.
Yeah. Also, BioWare, let me date Wynn. Unacceptable. Let me date Wynn. Wynn is awesome. Anyway. Yes. Even if she is technically a zombie.
That is definitely a MILF. She is kind of a zombie. A zombie
kind
MILF.
Of.
Zilf?
A zilf. Yeah. There we go. New term. Wynn is the zilf. A zombie I'd like to... Never mind. We're going to move on now.
I'd like to friend.
Yeah, exactly. Another Warm Bodies reference. We're on a roll. So anyway, after we get all of the gear, we go back to the bridge, and we have a decision to make about how we'll let Kaelin rest. I chose what I assume you chose also, is to do a pyre and kind of send him off.
because everything else felt kind of shitty.
It did.
Like,
They
leave
were
him
like,
for the wolves. Like,
yeah, it's
what?
yeah.
No. I mean, I guess that kind of makes more sense when you're Dalish.
I guess so. I mean, like the thing is that unlike the Mass Effect franchise, I feel like the Renegade choices, or you're kind of just an obnoxious asshole. Whereas
Yeah.
in this game, at least, I don't remember the second and third, but in this game, all of the like Renegade choices are really unnecessarily cruel and brutal in a way that just like who would choose that? The answer is we know lots of people who would choose that, but neither of
Right.
us. Um,
Right.
and so, yeah. And so we do the pyre, and then it just gives us a moment of seeing him, the fire, and them kind of like staring off and like remembering
Yeah.
him and taking a moment.
Zevran disapproves of you
Yeah.
doing the funeral pyre, but he doesn't say anything.
No.
And I'm like, how dare you disapprove?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure if we brought Sten or Morgan, they'd also disapprove. I think it's the certain decisions are coded to certain characters. And
Right.
so
I
I
just
think that's
think
just how it goes.
it's silly to have them disapprove and like not
Not
say
say anything.
why.
Yeah.
Like if
Like
they're
they should
not
speak up when you make the choice, and then you get the disapproval. So at least you know why they disapproved.
right. But like in this DLC where they don't even get a voice, their opinion does not matter. And
Yeah.
I feel like their approval should not matter.
I agree. I feel like that gets better, at least by the third game, but I do feel like the biggest problem with the Dragon, well, there are a few problems with the Dragon Age franchise, but one of the bigger ones with the companions is that the logic of why they approve and disapprove isn't always clear.
Yeah.
I feel like it gets better in the later games, but definitely in
I
this
think
game,
so
there's
too.
in this game for sure though, there are decisions I'll make and then Win will disapprove and I'll go, "What the fuck, Win?"
Why? I'm just a nice boy.
Yeah,
I'm just a little guy.
just
Stop
a little
being mean to
guy.
me. All right. Let's get this bread. Who do you want to talk about first in terms of companion quests?
Well, so I have a little story to tell before we do this.
Oh, a little story. I love a little story.
I had started these quests with Win and Alistair because I knew that they would be the kind of fastest you had mentioned and we had talked about before. And so I did Win's. We're going to talk about it in detail in a minute. And then I did Alistair's. And then I tried to leave Denerim and my game crashed. And I'm like, okay. I guess I'll have to, go roll back to a recent save. Well, turns out my most recent manual save was like 45 minutes earlier at the end of Ostagar before I'd done Win stuff. I kept loading, crashing. My game crashed like 6 times. So I'm livid and I'm like, you know what? I'll just do those 2 last. Let's go do the other quests. I won't be as mad by the time I get back to them. And so I did all of that. When I got back to Denerim and did Alistair's last because I knew it crashed there, it crashed again. And again and again and again. But at that point, I had done them all. So I wrote Frankie, who was probably already asleep at the time. Game keeps crashing. I'll have to figure it out. But I did all the quests. Well, after some Googling, it turns out that if the character models are at the highest fidelity, Denerim crashes for some reason. This is the, what was the AI mission we did with Legion, that I did with Legion and kept crashing in Mass Effect 3 all over again. This game has been out a long time on PC, a long time, which is constantly attached to the internet and BioWare's stupid storefront, or EA's stupid storefront, more specifically. Nothing's been done about it. So I went online and I found out, thankfully, because it's an old PC games, for those who haven't played a lot of them, there's like a splash startup screen where you can change the settings before the game loads. Because in the game, you can't change the settings if it's a game that was for PC and console. Often they keep that separate. So thankfully, I could change the character models to low settings before booting up into Denerim, and lo and behold, that worked. So I don't know if I'll have to keep it that way, but at least I can access my save again. I saved it again. I did a manual save again and reloaded a second time just to prove it. Man, do I hate
keep it that way.
Yes. But man, do I fucking hate this PC port, because now, I'm going to have to play with low-res textures the rest of the game just to make sure it loads, which looks awful because this game actually looks really pretty on PC when everything's turned up high. But also, this game, like, there's no reason not to fix this other than they don't want to allocate the resources in the team, which on the dev side, I can't begin to understand. But it is frustrating that a known issue with so many public forum posts still exists. Like, thankfully there's a fix, and thankfully, but if like I'll tell you right now, if I had lost my save and wouldn't be able to progress on, then the rest of this season would have been Frankie's choices, and I would have just gone along for the ride because I'm not starting over. I was
Yeah.
not playing this game from the beginning again. I won't
No,
do it.
that's valid.
And so I was
That's
just
how I felt
really,
when my save crashed.
yeah. I'm just angry about it because I bitched about this with the Mass Effect PC ports too. Now thankfully the Legendary Edition for the PC I've played on Steam a bunch. I haven't gotten to Mass Effect 3 yet, but like I've heard that a lot of those issues were fixed, and it has controller support obviously because I was playing it on the Steam Deck. So like this game and 2 need a remaster real bad. Inquisition is still, it's a PS4 game. I don't really think it needs a remaster, but like this stuff is so problematic, and like I love this franchise. You have a brand new one coming out at some nebulous time in the future, whenever Dreadwolf comes out, and like there's no reason not to fix some of this stuff other than obviously they don't have the resources to do it. But it's just frustrating as people who want to go back and explore this stuff. Now I have to tell people, even though the Xbox 360 version is a lesser version because this is designed around mouse and keyboard, it's playable, but it's definitely designed around mouse and keyboard and clicking on the battlefield. Playing the version it's intended for is bad because of the crashes, because at least on Xbox there are some crashes but not as egregiously as the PC version.
It hasn't been as bad,
and so it's just really frustrating and like makes me never want to replay this game again. Also, like, and we'll get to this more in 2, but 2 is the opposite. It's designed around a console version, it's designed around open action gameplay, and is horrible to play on PC. And it's just, there's no, like with Mass Effect, playing it on keyboard and mouse was tough for me because I'm not great with shooters on keyboard and mouse. I can adapt. I like controller, but it was playable. Whereas I feel like the game is playable here, but like the technical issues, and like before anyone asks, I have a high-end PC. It's less than a year old. Like, it's not graphics. It's not my hardware. It's none of that. It's the game. And PC ports are notoriously difficult for even modern games. A lot of ports are really bad. Most recently, the Last of Us port was really bad for Steam and stuff like that. But like, it's just frustrating that so many years later, there's no better fix. Now, there may be a mod out there that fixes a lot of this. There probably is. Steam community is really great. But I am trying to play these as is because I have not played these as much as Mass Effect. I eventually used a mod for the third game to use a controller because I've played that game so many times it doesn't matter. But like, I'd only played all of these games once except Inquisition. I've played like 1 and 4 half times. Oh no,
Same,
2 and 4 half times. I think I finished the complete story twice because I did it once on stream, and then I did it again after I replayed all 3 games.
Right, actually paying attention that time.
Right. So
I remember the first time you played Inquisition, and I'm like, I don't know this mission. Why don't I know this mission? And it was because you chose a different path than I did.
Yeah.
It's very funny to me.
And anyway, so yeah. So like, it was just like, while I sometimes put in my notes comically when the game crashes 3 or 4 times, like I lost count at this point. And it's really aggravating to try and play a game for a podcast like this and just be kind to something like this. It makes me really hate this game. And it's funny too, because like, as a running gag, every time I post somewhere that I'm going to play some Dragon Age, Ken Shepard, a frenemy of the show, posts RIP in our Discord server. Mm-hmm. And it's because he doesn't like this franchise. He loves characters in it, but he really doesn't like these games. And while at first I would often scoff replaying Dragon Age 1, I can really see it. And Dragon Age 2 can be a unsatisfying experience depending on what you were looking for. Dragon Age 2 still happens to be my favorite so far, but like, yeah, it's just, I'm so frustrated with this game. I'm ready to be done. And the unfortunate part is that even when we beat this game, we have another like 10 hours of DLC post game, second game.
Because there's like the Darkspawn DLC, there's the Leliana DLC,
and there's Awakening, which is a whole other game. Like,
yeah, there's Morrigan.
Yeah, like Awakening is essentially the sequel, right? Like,
yeah,
that's almost a full game narrative in DLC form, and then we get to the second game. It's why we may consider that a separate season. We're still figuring it out, but like, it's just, I'm so frustrated with this version of the game. But there's not a lot I can do about it because I'm also afraid if I install mods, if I do anything else, like I'll lose my save data. And so I'm writing it out. But anyway, I'm done. That's what really,
over.
Yeah, that's what really grinds my gears for a dated Family Guy reference. But let's get into these.
That's what really boils my potatoes.
Of course, you'd say that you're Irish.
Where do I live?
I know. Reconnecting with your roots.
Oh my God. I would just like to say that I cannot watch American TV with fake Irish accents because it is horrifying to me now.
I'm sure.
And I'm like, that is not what they sound like.
Yeah. Well, that's like anytime we watch a British actor be American Sarah, because Sarah is a voice teacher. Immediately,
Right.
like when we watched the first Doctor Strange, it was better in the second one, but in the first one, they looked at Benedict Cumberbatch and went, "That's not what a person in New York sounds like. What are you doing, Benedict? Yeah. What are you doing?"
That being said,
let's do our friendship quest. Why don't we do it in the order that you have it here? Let's start with Ogren. We'll do the ones that have decisions because they'll take a little longer. Look, I've said it before. Ogren is not a favorite character. I really like Stephen Bloom's performance as Ogren, but he is a character that is meant to be obnoxious, rude, annoying. Like, us disliking him, I think, is par for the course with the character. But I was completely thrown by this quest. So this quest is Ogren wants to go see a girl that he was sweet on named Felsi, who is down by
Lake
Calenhad, which is near the tower. And so we go there. Also, I'm going to bitch later, but like I went back and forth so many times because I didn't realize some of these quests were linked in location. Frustrating. But we get there and we go into the bar. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to go talk to her. You got to back me up. And I say, yeah, I'll back you up. Sure. From one dwarf to another. I got your back. Even though you drive me crazy, if this will make you happy, like I want to help, right? I always want to help. So he goes to talk to her. And like the entire conversation is her just being disgusted by him. And it's completely lost on me until we get about halfway through the conversation that's their bit. That's their shtick. So you can choose here to either help Ogren win back Felsi, or you can kind of fuck with him essentially and not be supportive. Which did you choose?
Okay. So I had a slightly different experience.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So when talking to Ogren about it, he does ask me to back him up. And I'm just like, just go talk to her. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And he was like, well, we didn't really part on great terms. And when he establishes that, I'm like, maybe I should go talk to her.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I talked to her first. And when I talked to her, I found out what he did.
Oh, no.
At Felsi's father's funeral, Ogren got so blind drunk that he took off all of his clothes and challenged the roast nug to a wrestling match and lost.
Jesus.
And cried until somebody took it off of him.
Oh my God.
So I can kind of see why Felsi does not want to see him again.
Yes, I would agree.
So I approach Ogren and I say, so she's kind of not over the nug incident. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go try and talk to her. I'm just like, okay. So I spend the whole time actually like just watching because I'm not going to help you. Like, this is your fucking disaster.
Right.
So I just watched. But then towards the end, there's a part where you have to say something.
Right.
And I'm like, tell her you've been thinking about her.
Yeah, I did that too.
And like he does, and she's just like, yes, and like, I don't fucking care. Can I date Felsi? I want to date Felsi. So the conversation goes on, and it does not end well for Ogren. She basically tells him to fuck off, and he's like, well.
Interesting. So for me, because I didn't get that context, I'm still doing some whispering in his ear, trying to help. And then about halfway through the conversation, I go, well, we should actually get going. And he's like, all right, well, the Dr. Spawn are not going to go kill themselves. And she flips. She's like, oh, but we were just getting started. And like, then she's like, I want to call you some more insults. And like, you find out that even though it broke bad, the nature of their relationship is that they kind of crapped all over each other. Like they just were mean to each other. Like that was their flirting. And so he promises to come back after all the Darkspawn are dead. And so like it ends better with mine because I kind of sort of interfered. Even though she still clearly was being like sincerely pretty mean to him at first, but then it turned out to be a shtick, essentially.
I was just like, can we leave now?
Can we please go?
Can we please go? Because this is making me very uncomfortable. But it still like worked out fine. He disapproved, and I was like, have a sugar cake. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
Take a sugar cake, get off my dick.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine. I think what frustrates me about Ogren is like there's potential for this to be actually very good and interesting character. The fact that he's an alcoholic and like really rude and shitty doesn't make him a bad character. It's the fact that that's all he is. That they're like, even if you dig below it and get some of his backstory, there's not a lot of justification for it. That's just kind of his personality in a way that like difficult characters and later in this franchise and in Mass Effect, like when you dig, there's a reason they're like that. Like Zaid isn't one of our favorite characters, but as we learn more about him, we're like, all right, I don't agree, but I get why he's like this a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, the guy was shot in the head and survived. Like, got a lot going on. But anyway, so that's Ogren's loyalty crest. Ogren's loyal now. Great. Yay, us.
I mean, loyalty isn't a thing.
No,
it's just we're doing nice things for our companions.
Right. I mean, it is for one of the later companions, but we'll get to that. Like, there is some loyalty stuff, but Dragon Age handles this way more weirdly than Mass Effect did. Mass Effect was more straightforward. But anyway, the next one is one of the earliest ones we got is Morrigan wants us to go kill Flemeth, so Flemeth doesn't take her body and live on.
Right.
Which, like, is legit. As requests go, that's fair. Bodily autonomy.
But when we show up, Flemeth is like, are you sure that's the truth?
Yeah. So the funny thing is I grabbed Morgan to go do this and Flemeth wasn't there and the door was locked. And I'm like, what the hell? I had to look it up.
Because you forgot that she can't be there.
Yeah, she can't be there because it had been so long since I got the quest. So I had to go back to camp, get someone else, and then go back again. But yeah, when we confront Flemeth's like, do you know if she's telling the truth? Maybe she's not. Like, it's the same riddles Flemeth has been giving us since the moment we met her.
Right. And even if you, like, explicitly say, like, just tell me what the truth is, Flemeth continues to, like, dance around it. And I'm just like, then I have to trust my friend.
Yeah.
So I decided to fight Flemeth.
I did, too. And so here's the interesting thing. Yeah, I know. So here's the interesting thing.
Okay.
When I played so I never did any of these companion quests. It's why I lost Severin in my original playthrough, all of that. So because I never did that, Flemeth was just a crazy old woman to me. But when you fight her here, she transforms into a dragon. Yes. So when I played 2 for the first time and she transformed from a dragon into a human, I went, what the fuck? What? Why? So anyway, I have the context now. But yes, I also fought Flemeth too because in my brain, it's like, I'm going to trust my friend who seems to be telling the truth. And if you're going to hurt or try and kill her, I'm going to defend her. I'm going to stand up for her. So I also fought Flemeth, which the fight was kind of a pain in the ass, but not impossible.
It was hard.
Yeah, she's a tough fight. But then you kill her. And when you kill her, you can then go into the house, loot the robes for Morgan and the book. And then you have to go back to camp to give Morgan the book. But the interesting thing here is, I don't know, did you look at your quest log after you finished, in that between step? So I did, and it's like the wording is something along the lines of Flemeth could be dead now, who knows, but go grab the book if you'd like. Like, it was very in the words of Flemeth, which was very weird and kind of meta. I really loved it, like as if she's whispering in your head, like, because spoiler alert, she's not dead, but like,
right. But we even know that that's a possibility because Morgan has told us. And she said, like, even if she, like, regathers her strength and reconstitutes her body, this is going to give me time to figure out what to do. Right.
And so then you go back to the camp, you give Morgan the book, and she's very grateful for it and is excited to immediately...
Like, she is grateful for it. She's very excited about the book. She does not acknowledge that you fought a great and terrible battle and destroyed her mother, who turned into a dragon. Like, absolutely no recognition that this is what you did. She's just like, oh my God, the book. I'm going to go study this right away, and leaves.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think that's because that way they can have one thing for both outcomes.
And, but, well, as far as she knows, you kill her no matter what.
That's true also. Yeah.
Because if you decide to strike the deal with Flemeth, you lie to Morgan. You're like, yep, killed her. Ah, ah. And Morgan
Yeah.
never finds out.
Yeah, that's true.
So I really wasn't sure if you were going to decide to kill her or not. I wondered if maybe you'd look at her and be like,
I thought about it, but then I was like, if I were in this character's shoes, someone who is okay with fighting and killing as they have been, I would fight. Like, I can save with a stern heart. If my friend was in a life-threatening situation, I would fight and kill to defend them. I haven't had that opportunity, but like I am also very protective of the people I love, so it didn't seem out of line. But I did have a second thought at first. I did exhaust all the options before I had to make a choice.
yeah. But I was just very much like, either you tell me what's actually going on so I can make an informed decision, or I'm going to fight you.
Right, because if you continue to talk to me in riddles, I'm going to stab you just for that.
So, yeah. Did you talk to Morgan again?
No, I did. After completing the quest, I didn't talk to her again. I figured
Okay.
we would do that for check-ins.
So I will hold my notes. Okay. Do you want to go to Alistair?
Yes. So Alistair's loyalty companion quest is to go bring him to meet his sister, Goldana. And it doesn't go well.
It goes so bad.
So first of all, when we get there, he starts
He's
to ramble.
So excited and
He's
nervous.
Yeah.
And he like, what if she doesn't like me? Well, oh, poor boy.
I hate to break it to you. So yeah, we get there. She thinks we're strangers and like, oh,
she starts off really suspicious, which totally valid. We did just walk into your house.
Yeah, without saying anything. And so she's like, if you need laundry done, I'm the best in the town. Just bring it here, leave it, I'll take care of it. And we're like, no, we're not here for your services. And then we're like, we're here because Alistair's your brother. And she goes, excuse me?
So here's the thing with Goldana. They told her that the baby was dead.
Right.
She knew it was Merrick's son.
Yeah.
And they gave her money to go away.
Yep.
So Goldana had to be no older than 10, I want to say, when this happened. Like, she could not have been a full adult when this happened. She definitely was like anywhere between 5 and 10 years old. So how fucking horrific to be a child. Your only parent is now dead. As far as you know, your baby brother is also dead. And like, you know who put your family in this situation, and they can't even be bothered to make sure that you survive.
Yep.
Like, they don't care. They just give you some money to go away, and it doesn't matter if you live or die.
Right. And so she's been living on her own since then, has many kids now, and has been living pretty much in poverty since that moment.
Right. So I can understand her anger. I do feel that it's entirely misplaced.
Yes. And then like they say that, so she blames Alistair for the death of their mother.
Yeah.
Which you can then step in and go, it's not his fault. He was banished.
Not fair. That's absolutely not fair.
And then she goes, who the hell are you? I didn't ask for your opinion.
Oh, she's for me? So rude. She calls me a fucking tart.
Oh my God.
She calls me a tart, and that I'm after his money.
Oh my God.
And then he gets upset and he's like, don't talk to her like that.
Yeah. These are my friends. And also I don't have any money. You think I'm this rich prince, but like, I'm not. I'm a warden. Like, but like, I'm not this person. It's not my fault. And I was able to use persuade also to be like, yeah, this isn't Alicia's fault. He did genuinely come here to connect with you. He cares about you. And like, she's still a little angry. And then she goes, but I guess you're right. I guess it's not his fault.
Oh, no. When I use persuade, be like, he came here to find his family. She's like, well, this is it.
So she does come back on that. Like when I do it, she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's probably not his fault, but this is his family. This is who I am. And I have no money and I've been living in poverty since he disappeared.
And all she cares about is money.
Correct.
Which is frustrating because like, I really want to sympathize with her. I want to empathize with her. But it's hard when all you care about is like living a higher life than you've been and treating someone who like thought about you their entire life like garbage. Like he would genuinely take care of you if you treated him with kindness.
Right. And even as the conversation goes on, like Alistair, for me at least, vows to like come back and take care of her. Like he has to fight the Darkspawn, but like we'll find a way to help her. And she's essentially like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like she's not.
Did Alistair ask you if you could give her money?
Because I did the persuade. She didn't. He
I did the
didn't.
persuade, and he said, like, would you let me give her 15 sovereigns?
Oh yeah, he didn't ask me to give her money.
Oh, he asked me, and I was just like, it's your sister. Like, do what you gotta do. Um, because I don't want these people like living in need. I want them to
Right.
have what they need. They are the family of someone that I love, but still, she doesn't appreciate it. She acts like such a bitch,
Yep.
and we leave, and Alistair's just like, I don't know what I expected.
He's like, yeah, I'm an idiot. I guess I can't believe that this happened. And I was able to reassure him, like, you're not an idiot. Just, this didn't work out, but you still have other people who care about you. And
Yeah,
he's like, oh, the only person who cared about me is Duncan, and he's gone. And I'm like, dude, I'm right here. I care
yeah,
about you.
me. I
And
care
he's like,
about you, dummy.
oh, yeah, of course. Thank you. Like, he feels sort of resolute in that moment. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I do have friends.
So by taking these dialogue options, we have actually kept Alistair gentle.
Mm,
Um, we have kept him soft. He is still a soft boy.
so far.
If we had been like, yeah, you're fucking naive, what did you think was going to happen? Then he would have hardened up.
Interesting.
And the difference is that a hardened Alistair is much easier to convince to do certain things.
Oh, I
Like
see.
a hardened Alistair will engage in a threesome with Isabella.
Huh.
A hardened Alistair will be fine with marrying Honora.
Huh. Interesting.
So our Alistair is not going to be easy to convince to do hard things.
Yeah, there are some other hard things also that like I may have convinced him to do in a previous playthrough that I don't even want to get to, but we will. Anyway,
I had a conversation with John about that, and I will talk to you about it off air.
that's fine. I mean, we will get to it on air as well, but that's later, and we're trying to keep spoilers light in case this is someone's first playthrough ish.
Like, if you've never played this game before, we're going to do our best to take care of you, but you cannot hold us to an impossible standard.
Correct. Also, like, yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. Anyway, moving on. So the next mission is Sten's mission. We have to find his sword. This is just a fetch quest, and I hated it. Like I liked the result of the conversation that we have with Sten because he softens. But like, we go to Lake Calenhad, find a scavenger, tells us to go to Orzammar, which I just came from. So I have to go back again. And then I went inside by accident, but realized the person's outside because there's no quest marker. And then I went back to Redcliffe because it's in Redcliffe. And then I find the sword in the stupid dwarf's house, get the sword, give it to Sten, and then we have a heartfelt conversation. But it's such a pain in the ass.
Did you even like talk to Dwin to get it?
No, I just went in and took
Oh,
it.
you just went and took it?
Correct.
Yeah, I walked in and I was like, stop, asshole. You have something that belongs to my very angry friend.
Yeah, I didn't even have a conversation with him. I just went in and took it.
Yeah, and with Dwayne, you could be like, how much are you gonna like charge me for this? Or you can just be like, why don't you just give it to me? And Dwayne's like, that's an excellent idea. Here's the key.
I think because I can pick locks that I was able to just get it. So I just took it, and he didn't do anything or say anything. He's just like, "Hey, oh, all right, bye." I gave Sten the sword in his house, so we're having this conversation in his house.
Fantastic.
Where Sten thanks you and like didn't what I didn't think you could do it, thanks Sten, but you did, and
I mean, we're basically trying to find a needle in a haystack. Like, you promised to find a sword, and an entire country, one specific sword, not
Yeah.
even like a sword like it.
Yeah. And so, but he's very grateful. He says a word in Canary that essentially means like a finder of things, a person
Yeah.
who seeks out and helps. And so, and then you can
Oh, I
give it to
have the
him.
word. I wrote it down because I was like, that's cool. I like some Canary things. Um, he thinks I'm in Ashkari.
Ashkari, that's it. Right. And so, and then after you give it to him as a gift, then it's in your inventory that you can equip to him, which I did. And I also realized he had a higher strength than Alistair. So I gave him like a bunch of Kaelin's armor also
Yeah.
to wear.
I have Sten in the Juggernaut armor, and I have Ogren in Caitlin's armor, which is
See, it's
hilarious.
swapped. I have Ogren in the Juggernaut armor, and then I have the Warden armor and stuff for Alistair.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
he'd
very funny.
appreciate it more.
Also, like Sten formerly had this giant battle axe with lightning on it, and so I gave that to Ogren. So now Ogren's got a giant lightning battle axe.
Also, part of this conversation is Sten says, also, if we defeat the Blight, I would have a more satisfactory answer to give to the Arashok, yeah?
It's
Um,
like, okay,
basically
sure,
saying, like, I'm going to stay and I'm going to help you. Like, just because I have my sword back doesn't mean I'm going to leave,
right, yeah,
which is nice.
yeah.
I appreciate him.
So that's that mission. In the course of all this back and forth to Orzammar, to Lake Calenhad, I did also complete the Dagna quest because when I was in
Oh, yeah, I
Calenhad,
got to do that.
I realized I'm already here. Might as well go to the tower. So I had that conversation. I mean, there's nothing really to go over. You talk to the head of the circle, tell him about Dagna. He's really interested. You go back to Dagna and tell her she's really excited, as Dagna wants to be, and goes, "Oh, I should pack. Wait, no, that'll make my parents suspicious. I'm just gonna go." And then gives you a reward, and it's like
I
that
love
checks
her.
out. She's
She's
great.
so cute.
So anyway, the next quest to do on our list is Shale's quest. This one was a pain in the ass because I thought I just had to go straight to the deep roads. So I went to the deep roads. Then it turns out if you hadn't brought her with you earlier, she hasn't told you about the Tig or remembered the Tig that you need to go to.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out, I looked up a walkthrough, you can just go to one of the other Tigs. And then she goes, "Oh, this place is familiar. I remember another place." And then it shows up on your map and you can go.
Yeah. She told me what Tig to go to, so I did.
Yeah. And so you go there and you fight tons of Darkspawn, of
So
course.
many. And you get so much loot.
But then
Because it's a DLC one, so.
It is. But then when you get to the end of the run, you find a giant dwarf statue commemorated with names. She finds her name, which happens to be Shale with a Y in it, and remembers that she was a young female dwarf, that she was part of this group of initial dwarves who volunteered to become golems. Essentially, they weren't forced into it. They wanted to, so that they could help fight and defend Orzammar, and gets her memories back. Not all of them, but like remembers who she was.
But has a sense of self now.
Right. Which was fine. It was fun. Like there wasn't much to it. Like there was like, we don't get flashbacks or anything. It's just kind of a conversational thing. And then we go.
She disapproved for some reason.
Oh, really?
When the conversation ended.
Hmm.
I don't know why. Because I didn't think that I said anything that was like mean or offensive. Like I can't even remember what the last dialogue options were because they felt so like neutral.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think she approved of our conversation, but I don't remember anything there being really, there was no choice or anything. It was just a conversation.
You know my solution. Have a sugar cake.
Yeah, exactly. Here you go.
Have a
Sugar cakes for everybody.
Get off my deck.
And so then the final one is with Wynn, for now at least. And we find out that Wynn had an apprentice that did when she was younger and more brash, which is hard to imagine her more brash because she's pretty brash now. But she says that she unfortunately failed him. He was an elven mage, and like she didn't train him right, and like he ended up running, wanting to go back to the Dalish, but she assumed he's probably dead by now. Which I went, wait, we know some Dalish. Let's go find out if they know him. And of course, it turns out the storyteller of the village does know this apprentice, Aniran, and they say, yeah. And Wynn's like, oh, it could be any Aniran. And they're like, no, this is the only Aniran I've ever heard of. It's not that common. he hangs out in the forest, though. He likes to be one with nature. And so we go to find him. And of course, we have to fight a ton of bandits when we get there because we have to fight something, right? It's not a quest if we don't fight stuff.
I didn't fight anything because I did this as part of the Dalish.
Right, right.
I did this as part of the werewolf thing.
Right. And so I fought a bunch of bandits, and then we have this conversation with Anirin, who they essentially reconcile. Like, Anirin doesn't hold a grudge.
Anirin is like the best outcome that Wynn could possibly have hoped for. Like,
correct.
He could have held a grudge, but he grew into this like really hopeful and helpful person, and he takes care of people, and he's a healer, and he managed to like master himself and his magic.
Yep. And so he tells you not to hold a grudge. He's thankful for you as a teacher, even if it didn't end the way they both wanted.
Us. We've never met him before.
Yeah. No. Win is what I meant. And then offers you a gift, which ends up being a necklace that you can give Wynn that like gives her, I think, spell resistance to every kind of spell. And and then that's kind of it. It's then you can leave. Which, let me tell you, I hate quests that are in the middle of a mission zone because I had to run to one far end and then I have to run all the way out. I can't just leave.
I multiple times was like, I just want to leave. Like, why can't I just push a button to be like extract?
Yeah, there really should be. Like,
and then I left.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even the first Mass Effect, like when you're on the planet's surfaces, you can extract at literally any time.
Yes.
Like, there should be an option here to just kind of leave. A Hearthstone, like, if we're going to talk about WoW, like, just let me out, an escape button. Yeah, no, it happened several times. When it was in Orzammar and then go into the Deep Roads, it's like, you have to go back to Orzammar and then go through Orzammar.
Oh, I didn't have to do that. I just left.
Really?
Yeah, I just left.
How?
I don't know. Maybe because I went straight to Kadash Tag.
Maybe.
So because I was just able to leave.
Anyway, it was a pain in the ass and was annoying, but
understandably,
yes,
understandably. But like, which one was it? It was Ostagar that I was like, I just want to leave now, but I had to like go all the way back to the beginning after the fire, and I was just like, why?
Yeah,
just let me leave.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that is all the companion quests that we were able to do because we have not spent a lot of time in Denerim or with Liliana.
Yes. But we will, at some point in the coming episodes, we will pick up both Zevran and Liliana's loyalty quests and be able to do them as well. Companion quests, whatever they're called. And so, yeah, that's it for this. It's now time to start a war or something.
Maybe. So we are nearing the end. We're going back to Denerim to explore it fully because we really didn't do that the first time. We literally just walked in, went straight to speak to Brother Genitivi, found out he wasn't there, and booked it.
Yeah.
This time we can be a little more leisurely. We can actually check out the pubs, travel around the city before we go to Arl Eamon's castle and have a conversation about starting the Landsmeet. So next part's going to be a little squirrely because we have to figure out what is going to be included.
Yeah, once you start the Landsmeet, it kind of like is a snowball effect of the rest of the story. And so we kind of have to figure out like what section to do.
Yeah, because there's like something with the alienage, there's something with Anora, like there's stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to do all of the stuff in Denerim, and then we'll figure out how to break it up to talk about it.
Yeah. So if you are playing along with us, head back to Denerim, explore, take care of some companion quests, take care of some outstanding missions, become an Antivan Crow, maybe, if you want.
Maybe.
And yeah, we will party with you in another 2 weeks.
Yep.
So if you like what you heard here, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at FrankieBWrites and at FunandGamesPod. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of Certain Point of View Podcast Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website and join in the conversation. All of these links are also in the show notes, a link to our Spotify page, a link to our Apple podcast page. You can rate and review us in both places. It only takes a few minutes. Please do it. And then, of course, a permanent invite link to our Discord server in the show notes as well. So if you're looking to join, you can just jump through from there.
And for personal plugs, I continue to be but a humble PhD researcher. If you like what I contribute to this show, kick me a few bucks on Venmo at Frankie Brad is hella rad.
As for me, you can find all of the things that I do, my merch, my Ko-fi, my other podcast pages, this podcast page, though you already know where that is, all at djstormageddon.com. If you want to interact with me, not on Twitter, through my Video Game Podcast Twitter account, you can follow me on Blue Sky if you happen to have it. I am just DJ Stormageddon over there. If you're not following my Twitch page already, it's DJ_Stormageddon like everything else. Go give it a follow. I'm planning on doing more streaming in the coming months because I've gotten a few games that I'm very grateful to have gotten review codes for, and I'd like to stream them so folks continue to give me review codes. And also just to share in that experience with you. I think that's really it for me. We'd also like to thank Carter's husband for developing more amazing t-shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com or on Teespring, as well as for designing all of our cool show art per episode. Every episode's art is designed by that same husband.
Shout out for Case. You might want to think about doing a Zilf shirt.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Just a picture of Wynn and Zilf above it.
Like, I feel like it has so many uses. It doesn't have to be limited to Wynn. Like, it could also be like the Genlock Necromancer, or it could be,
that's true.
Like, I feel like there's so many applications.
That's true. Yeah, or it could be Zilf could be a Zevran I'd like to fuck too.
It could be.
That's true.
A Zevran I'd like to friend. Keep it clean, Matt. This is a clean show. For fuck's sake.
Please thank other people for us.
I'd like to thank Radic Wade and Echoes of Oblivion for our theme music.
And I'd like to thank Red Spinks for our brand new logo. To see his work and some other cool art besides our logo, you can just follow Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
But honestly, if you don't have our logo on a t-shirt, then what are you doing?
Really, seriously, get on
you
that.
You silly goose. You better get back in the pond. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. And remember, Grey Wardens.
In war, victory.
In peace, vigilance.
In death, sacrifice.
Okay, bye.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.